This is the truth about the Mango Power E. I'm not going to be giving any more chances to this, because if you've seen in my other videos about the Mango Power E, I have had 7 previous units and 6 of them have died. But Mango does not want to go down without a fight. So they reached out in another effort to try to have me review this unit. So this review will be about units 8 and 9 that I've received from Mango. And this will be the full honest opinion, as it is with all of my videos, about my experience with this system. You won't want to miss this, because this has a big twist at the end. And just like with all of my videos, this is my honest, unbiased review. The results stand for themselves. I put every unit through over 50 different items of testing to make sure that it can work as advertised. But the last thing will absolutely blow your mind. I don't even know how this is possible, but I'm going to share that with you right near the end. So let's get right into the specs and what happened as I tested this unit. To be clear, I have 2 units. I tested these initially as single units running different loads, and then together running a really large load to see what would happen. That's gonna be a little bit confusing. The company is called Mango Power, and this is the E model. So they call this the Mango Power E. It's just called the E by itself. But because this is the only unit they make, they sometimes also just call it the Mango. So don't get confused on the terminology there. It all means the same thing. The whole purpose with the Mango is for home backup power or RV power or just basic backup off-grid power. I have personally watched every single video of the Mango that has come out on YouTube because I had so many issues with my original units. I wanted to see if other people were having those issues. One thing that really surprised me is that basically no one has done the extensive amount of testing that I've done to really show what this can and can't do. Most people are just talking at a table like this about the unit without any experience of using the system over an extended period of time. I've had this unit for about a month now, and my previous units I had for many months. And the way that I test this is how I would use it if I was in an emergency. So this has a 3000 watt inverter, and the peak output is a little interesting. You'd think it's 6000 watts output, and I think that's the case, but in the user manual it specifically says that it peaks up to 4800 watts for 40 milliseconds. So part of that also makes me think that it can't peak above 4800 watts. I'm really not clear on that one. As a single unit, you only get 120 volt or single phase power. That's not a big problem because you can put 2 of these together and get 240 volt split phase power. When you do that, you double everything across the board in terms of specs. For outlets, you have a TT30RV plug that's rated to 25 amps of output. Even though it says 30 amps here, that is inaccurate because 3000 watts divided by 120 volts equals 25 amps. And then you have 4 more 20 amp rated outlets. Again, collectively, it'll go up to 25 amps. I was able to test this unit in terms of its sustained output, and it will continuously output 3000 watts. But it's not normal to run that much. Most people are running basic loads, and that's why I did a 0.2C discharge test on this, which is right at 700 watts. And I was able to get 84% out of the battery. That comes down to 2,970 watt hours of usable power using basic normal loads. Part of what plays into that is the idle power consumption. So right now, as this unit is turned on, it's not really using a ton of power because it's only powering the screen. But as soon as I turn on the AC output, now the idle power consumption is going to increase because the inverter that is running waiting for a load to come out of these outlets. And this has a surprisingly low idle power consumption rate of only 27 watts. Even other systems like the Anker, Solux, and the Jackery have much higher idle power consumption, so I'm glad to see a low idle power consumption on this system. The voltage output was pretty stable as I did different tests. It was at about 121 volts with a basic load on it, and it would dip down to about 118 volts depending on how much power it was having to push out. The lowest I actually got it was 115 volts, so a very, very stable pure sine wave voltage coming out. One of the things that surprised me the most was how quiet this system is. Of course, when you're running a heavy load or recharging with a lot of solar, it's going to get louder, but in most situations, recharging from solar like normal and running a load of even 2000 watts, I couldn't even really hear the fans. It was pretty much always below 30 to 40 decibels. The highest I really ever got was about 40 decibels, unless I had an extremely heavy load and was charging at the same time with solar. Then I did get the fans to turn on and it was about 52 decibels. It has a fairly impressive runtime for a traditional refrigerator. I ran my refrigerator for 23 hours nonstop off of this with no wall charging and no solar charging. And you can run both the AC outlets and the DC or the USB-C equipment all at the same time. In terms of DC power, you have a 100 watt USB-C, 65 watt USB-C, and then 6 24 watt USB-A, 2 5mm barrel connectors, and then 1 traditional 10 amp cigarette lighter port. I have a free solar generator comparison chart where you can compare the Mango and pretty much every other system in an apples to apples comparison online, and that'll be in the links down below. Just go to the description and click show more. My free link will be right there. I have that as a free resource for everybody. But for any coupons and discounts that are available, that'll also be underneath the free solar generator comparison chart. So make sure to go there to get as much savings as you can, especially right now while there's Black Friday sales going on. These things are on crazy discount. And one of the things I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to compare this to 3 very similar systems. That way you know of the 4 options there, which one I would personally go with. But in the end, if you have questions on what systems are right for you, I do consultations, and you can shoot me an email to info@minutemansolar.com. And if you want to find the most affordable kits, just go to poweredportablesolar.com. That'll soon be minutemansolar.com. The battery inside the Mango is 3,533 watt hours. They're using CATL or CATL battery cells, which are considered some of the highest quality batteries in the world. CATL cells make up a good portion of the worldwide batteries in terms of production. They're in electric vehicles, they're in huge buildings, they're in small devices, they're everywhere. But you can only have one expansion battery, which is another 3,533 watt hours per unit. And it's a proprietary battery. You can't use like a server battery or any other generic 48 volt battery. It must be a Mango battery in order to have the communication for it to work properly. They are lithium iron phosphate, and they're rated to 6,000 cycles to 70% efficiency. Most companies rate their batteries to 80% efficiency, and that's around 4,000 cycles. The dimensions are basically 17 inches by 19 inches by 15 inches to the back of the wheels. It's slightly bigger than that. I just like to round off my numbers. And it comes in right at 100 pounds. It is a pretty typical size for how much power you get compared to other units on the market. It has about 4-inch all plastic wheels and a telescoping handle, as well as handles on the side. This isn't terrible to move around. I'm able to do it by myself. But if you're of a wiser age, I'd probably recommend having a less wise aged person move this around, or just have 2 people, because it is pretty heavy. It does have a wireless app, but only this unit of the 2 units that I got was able to connect to the app. And even still, it doesn't update very quickly. This is when I did a load test, and I'm going to show you in just a second, when I charged up another solar generator, and it stuck saying that it's at 25%. It eventually updates and gives me the controls of being able to turn on the AC outlets and the DC and do all the different settings that I can do on the screen here, but it doesn't always update. The other unit is able to be found in the app, but it never updates, and I, for some reason, can't connect to Wi-Fi. So when the app is working, it works pretty okay. It responds quickly and it does everything that I want it to do, but it is very annoying that it's not working all the time. Charging this has been one of the most confusing things about the Mango Power E. If I want to charge it from the grid and I just plug in the wall charger, it will automatically charge at about 420 watts. That seems to be its standard charge rate. If I want to be able to run an AC load while charging, you can't turn on the AC load button. Watch as I click here, back up, it says discharging, and it won't allow you to switch. In order to be able to charge and run things at the same time, which is called a UPS or uninterrupted power supply, you have to turn off the AC load and you have to turn on backup mode. Backup mode is going to allow you to get 420 watts to go into the battery, and then anything else that you need to run is going to basically build on that. So if I need to run a 500 watt load, the total power that's going to be coming into the system will be 920 watts. Where 420 is going to go towards the battery and 500 is going to go to the load. But I could not get more than 1,300 watts total load when running this. So that is a bit of a limitation. I assume that would go up if I use the 30 amp charging option, because this has that option, but that's another confusing part. So I'm going to turn off backup power here. You can go into the settings and you can choose max AC current. So if you want to charge faster than 420 watts, you cannot have the AC load turned on, and you have to turn on quick charge. It's not doing that now because I don't have the wall charger plugged in. When I click on quick charge, there's no AC output allowed, and it'll charge at about 1,000 watts. Then if I go into settings and change it to 15 amps and click confirm, it'll go up to about 1,500 watts. If you have a 30 amp outlet and the fast charger, you can go all the way up to 30 amps, but it will give you a warning saying your receptacle must be able to handle 30 amps. It also has an interesting battery state of charge. I can choose to get it charged up to 95, 90, or 85. Normally this is something that's controlled within an app, so it is nice that it's available here on the screen, but it just seems odd that it doesn't automatically have a 100% option and then a 90 and then an 80 or something like that. Generally speaking, if you don't charge your battery all the way full, it will give you more life cycles. I personally keep mine always at 100% because when I need it, I want all of the battery capacity possible, even if that means costing me a little bit of life cycles. I'm not honestly worried about it. So AC charging is definitely kind of weird, but DC charging, or rather solar charging, worked great. It doesn't tell you in the user manual, but you can actually go up to 30 amps of DC current, which makes it a lot easier to reach the full 2000 watt solar input rating. The exact charge parameter is 60 volts to 150 volts and 30 amps. So that means I can take four 400 watt solar panels, connect them in series, and then put another group of 4 panels together, take those 2 groups and branch them together. That gives me a series parallel combination. In reality, most people are just going to want to get 4 400 watt solar panels and connect them into a single group, run that into here. And when I did that on a perfectly clear sunny day, I actually got 1400 watts of solar input, which is quite impressive. The solar charge controller in here seems to be very efficient. One thing that I dislike is that they do use a proprietary connection. I've never seen this on any other system. Actually, all of their connections are pretty much proprietary, or rather not commonly used. And so they have the solar connector, which has 2 pins in it, and then the AC connector, which has 3 pins in it. And if you lose that connection, you pretty much have to get another one from them. So that's where the customer support will really come in. But I always dislike having uncommon connectors with any solar generator. For as much as that I've put down Mango in the past, because I have legitimately had 6 units die, their 400 watt folding solar panel is by far one of the best folding solar panels that I've ever used. I've actually had 2 of them, and what's cool is that they have the option where you can get a portable stand that works with their panel. It's a little awkward to set up the first time, but the fact that you get a stand with the 400 watt solar panel is pretty incredible. It comes in a very nice portable case, because you can drastically increase how much power you're producing by taking your panel from being flat on the ground and tilting it up towards the sun. That's specifically one of the reasons why I made my own Minuteman solar panel stands. It's a patent pending product that you can find on my website, where I can take any rigid framed solar panel, so not the Mango panels, and I can add solar panel legs to it. So that way I can quickly set up and take down the panels and just have a permit-free, paperwork-free, no hassle system that I attach one time to the panels, and then it works as a stand forever. If you really want to charge fast, you can solar charge and wall charge at the same time, or charge from a gas generator. You just need to make sure that that gas generator is an inverter generator putting out clean energy. There is no dark start option, meaning if this battery goes down to 0% and solar starts recharging it the next day, it will not automatically turn on the AC outlets again and continue running the loads. You have to manually turn that back on. That's pretty common with most systems, but there are some out there that will automatically start running their AC loads again. Now, this is the part that I really wanted to get to. If you've made it this far in the video, I would truly appreciate if you smash the like button. And if this is at least your second time watching my channel, you might as well subscribe, because obviously you like the content. But this is what absolutely blew my mind about the Mango Power E. This does not mean I give it a 100% recommendation, but it's only $1,099 right now. It is extremely cheap. We'll have to double check on the solar generator comparison chart, but this may be the second or third cheapest solar generator option on the market right now, at least during the Black Friday sale. But there is one peculiarity with this. The Mango Power E is $1,099, but the expansion battery is $1,199. I don't know why an expansion battery would cost more than a main unit. Maybe that's an oversight, or maybe they just have to make that much money on the battery. I don't really know, but either way, it's crazy cheap right now. In total, that comes to 41 cents per whole watt. What I consider a whole watt is the price of the whole unit compared to the inverter, battery, and solar rating. Most people only compare it on the watt hour price, which is just the battery, but it's a solar generator, it's not a battery. It's all three of those things combined. The customer service has been okay. It's mostly been email, but I've had a slightly unfair advantage this time around because I've had so much experience with Mango. They obviously know who I am. So I've been able to have direct communication with the heads of the company, which is an unfair advantage. So in my experience before, where I basically hidden my identity and called and asked questions, the best way I would get a response is by email, but I know that they are trying to increase their customer service, but it is what it is for now. Hopefully they can get it really good, something to the level of like Jackery or EcoFlow in the future. It does have a 5-year warranty, which is on the higher side for systems on the market right now, but I wanna know, how does this compare to the top 3 units of similar specs? Those units are going to be the HiSolis Apollo, the Pecron E3600 LFP, and the Bluetti Apex 300. In terms of price, the Mango is $1,100. The Apollo is generally about $4,000. Right now, the Pecron E3600 LFP is $999, so $100 less than this. And the Bluetti Apex 300 is actually $1,400 right now. So in comparison, this is the second cheapest option for a single unit, but there's more that goes into that. We need to compare the inverter, battery, and solar. This has a 3 kilowatt inverter. The Apollo is 3 kilowatts. The E3600 is 3.6 kilowatts, and the Bluetti Apex 300 is 3.1 kilowatts. So basically the 3600 has a better inverter by 20% compared to the 4 units that I'm talking about. Now, all of these systems have expansion batteries, but as a base battery, what comes in the box, this has 3.5 kilowatt hours. The Apollo has 5.4 kilowatt hours. The Pecron E3600 is 3.1 kilowatt hours, and the Apex 300 from Bluetti is 2.8 kilowatt hours. So this is a little bit on the higher side in terms of internal battery, but in terms of expansion battery, this has the lowest expandability, because with 2 units and 2 expansion batteries, you're only going to get about 14 kilowatt hours. Whereas all of the other systems can do at least 30 kilowatt hours or more when you expand them. And then lastly is the solar. This is rated to 2 kilowatts of solar input. The Apollo can do 4.4, the 3600 can do 2.4, and the Apex 300 can do 2.4. So this has the lowest rated solar input of all of these 4 units. But one of the X factors about the Mango is that it's the only system that I'm aware of that is using CATL battery cells, which are very good quality cells. That doesn't mean that the other batteries that other manufacturers are using are technically any worse. They're just not having that big name brand, such as Nike or Lamborghini or any type of really well-recognized brand. There are some certain pros to the Mango Power E. One, it is especially quiet. It has been very surprising how quiet the whole thing is. It must have a very good large fan cooling system in it. The battery cells are of course amazing, and it has a very low idle power consumption for how large the inverter is. It's great that you can get split phase power, or rather 240 volt power, if you get 2 units, which means you can connect this to your house and run lots of power to your whole house, up to 6 kilowatts basically, which isn't bad. If you're running a lot of electrical items, such as an electric water heater, an electric range, electric dryer, or even a well pump, those things are gonna be hard to run at the same time. You're pretty much gonna have to choose one and then not run much else. It has good solar input. I'm glad that they went up to at least 150 volts of solar input rating. I don't know why they don't advertise the 30 amp input. Seems like easy information that people could use. And it's got okay battery expandability. I definitely wish they had more battery expandability. In terms of cons, this is not something that you can expand over time to truly run your whole house, because the maxed out system is going to give you 6 kilowatts output, 4 kilowatts of input, and 14 kilowatt hours of battery. Those specs would be good for a small backup system running a refrigerator, a freezer, a well pump, Wi-Fi, TV, basic things. But in terms of even running like a window air conditioner through the whole night, that's gonna eat up the majority of the battery in a single night. It's just not sustainable to run larger items like that. Very basic system only. One of the weird things about it is when I got this fully charged to 100%, I got a red button by the notification telling me that I was at 100%. So it was notifying me of a good thing, but because it's a little red button, automatically in my brain I think, oh no, I have an issue with this, but it's not an issue. The user manual has all of the error codes listed in the back, so if you do get an issue, like I had a PCS output failure when I was doing the load test, it'll tell you exactly what that means by giving you the code. Just by going into notifications, it'll tell you if it's a battery issue or an inverter issue. Some of the other cons are I obviously have had issues with the app. I wish that was working better. I want to give everybody an opportunity to do the right thing and get a good working system. And so far, I can say Mango has done that, but I'm always going to be worried if in a week or two that this stops working. Because when I get these systems for testing, I continue testing them after I do videos and post them because I want to see how they're working long term. Some people depend on these for their off-grid cabins, for their RVs, or for reliable home backup power. And if it stops working consistently after 2 to 4 weeks, well, I can't find that out unless I run it for 2 to 4 weeks or 2 months or 4 months, whatever it is. So that's one of the questions that I have. And if Mango, you're watching this video, I want you to comment down below what has been updated inside so people can see directly from the horse's mouth what's different. The other questions that I have is why do we not have the ability to add more batteries? And is there a way to do that? Because I think people would love that. And then my last question is why do the batteries cost more during this sale than the main unit? Because you'd think that it would be at least a couple $100s less. And I'm not saying they have to change it. I'm just wondering why they did it the way that they did. One thing on the pricing is if you do decide to go with this system, you can get 2 Mangos and their 240-volt hub for the price of just 2 Mangos, basically $2,200. They're throwing in the $249 240-volt hub for free if you buy it as a bundle. And basically the bigger the bundle you get, the bigger the savings you get. They also have the 200-watt folding solar panel, not just the 400. I prefer larger wattage of solar panels. It's a personal preference because the solar really is the lifeblood of all of these systems. Keep in mind though, my understanding is you can only connect 3 of their 400-watt panels together in series and be below the 150-volt rating. I'd have to double check that, so make sure you look at the VOC rating of those panels. What questions do you have? You've made it this far in the video, so obviously this is of interest to you. What questions came up to you when you were listening to this, and what would you ask Mango? Unfortunately, I cannot give a full recommendation on the unit because of my past experience. If this was the first time that I was getting this unit, I would give it my recommendation because both of these units have been working well for me for the last few weeks. So take that to mean whatever you want it to mean, but personally, they're working okay now. I hope they keep working and I'll keep testing. And if anything happens, I'll definitely let you guys know. If you want help, shoot me an email. But regardless of whether you go with this system or another system, use the links in the free solar generator comparison chart down below because you're going to save more money, especially this time of year. Hopefully you found this helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.